in the message box that you are indeed seeing me and hearing me. That would be great. My apologies for the technical delay on my side. I was presenting and sharing information with you, and it seems that was not getting your way. So let's start again. Okay, so I'm going to talk about escalating or regulating today, practical steps for challenging times we are managing at the moment and navigating the circumstances we are in. So I'm going to be joined by Ms. Judith Wessels, our clinical coordinator, who is an occupational therapist, and Mr. Mustafa Ahmed, who is a physiotherapist, who will also be able to answer specific questions relating to occupational therapy and physical therapy. So I am Almin. I'm a passionate speech therapist from South Africa, currently in the UAE. I'm affiliated with Hope AMC Dubai. We also have a branch in Riyadh. I have over 20 years experience with children. Very happy to do what I like. I started being a speech therapist because I love children. And then years later, I became a mother. And the journey of parents just spoke to my heart so nicely that now I feel really integrated as a therapist who wants to make a change. Okay, I'm getting a comment that somebody cannot hear me. Miss Devon. Miss Judy, can you confirm that you are hearing me? You can hear me now? Okay, wonderful. All right, so why are we talking about this today? As therapists and as parents, we have seen in the past week how challenging circumstances are challenging our children. It is becoming hard for them to engage. It's harder for them to participate in therapy. And we want to just put it out there that we are still here and we're here to help if you need us. So what is the signs we can look for in anxiety in children? So there will be different signs. We have seen changes in behavior. We have seen children being very clingy to their parents, not wanting to separate. A child who was used to going to school suddenly doesn't want mommy to take a sibling to therapy. With the older children who have speech, you may be getting repetitive questions. So they're asking for the same information over and over again. In both ourselves and our children, we're seeing more irritability. We're hearing noises that we're not familiar with. We're feeling vibrations that our nervous system is not really aware of. And that makes it really hard for us to not be irritable as a parent, with more demands placed as well. And then, of course, we see the big emotional responses to small details. You'll present your child his pasta in a blue container, and that would just be too much to handle. So these are things we are seeing. And then we are also seeing the changes in eating and sleeping. A child sleeping more, a child sleeping less, a child who was previously able to sleep by himself, who wants to co-sleep now. So these are the things you could be seeing. Of course, there's many more that we can go into, but these are things to look out for. So why are we talking about regulation today? So this talk is very much centered around our ability to feel safe and connect with others as part of our anatomical structure. So embedded in our systems, we have the autonomic nervous system. And the autonomic system of the parent and the child wants to feel safe. And when things start happening in a different way, it is hard for our bodies to adjust. So I'll be talking a little bit about regulation, and then I'll be giving 4 tips on what exactly you can do to make it easier for you or your child. And then we'll open the platform for questions. Of course, you are able to place questions at any time, so long, but just to get you going on what we're going for. So what are we looking for? The nervous system, I want you to see it as a ladder. So when we, or our children, are at the top of the ladder, we are feeling at ease. We are feeling safe, we can socialize, and we can engage. This is ideally the place we want to be when we co-regulate our children. Not always possible, and that's okay too, because as you move down the ladder, you are starting to feel overwhelmed. You're getting agitated, the irritability that I was speaking about earlier. and you're feeling a bit chaotic. Your routine is not what it's supposed to be. Things are a bit different. You're getting a lot of input from the outside world, just not knowing what's going on. So yeah, you're seeing that. And then you get to the bottom part where I am now in despair. And this is often where we find our children. They're numbing, they're collapsing, and they're shutting down because you are their safe space. And they want to be around their safe space. So, as parents, we obviously go through that ladder as well throughout a day, throughout a period, and it's okay. But it's important to know that for you to be able to pull your child up from the bottom part of the ladder, you have to move yourself up to the top part because it's going to be really hard for somebody to pull somebody from the bottom if they are on the bottom themselves. So, what is co regulation? Co regulation between a parent and a child allows for that social emotional engagement, that attachment and that bond, and then communication is possible. As adults, we have the cognitive tools to manage our emotions better, but children are still learning to regulate. It's a set of skills that they need to acquire. So the question we should be asking is, as a parent, am I co-regulating my child, so trying to pull them up from the bottom part of the ladder? Or am I, as a parent, co-escalating this and not allowing my child to do better? And this is often not because of our own weakness or strength that we don't know. It's because we are also under pressure and taking lots of different things on that we're not used to. So being aware of your own state is going to help you get your child into a better place. So developmentally speaking, kids are like cars with faulty brakes. So they are born with the capacity to experience every shade of emotion. Ask any mother who's had a 2-year-old in a shopping center who wants a specific treat. Um, but they don't yet have the tools to regulate this. It's very hard for them. There's no brakes. They're going down the hill fast. And they need us in that process. So, how do we stop this car at this moment that we are experiencing? So, we regulate ourselves, and I'm going to give you some practical tips. We keep explanations simple, we reassure and validate, and we maintain our routine. So, those are the four things we're going to speak about today. I will explain each of them and then we open the platform for any questions or any reassurances needed. So, how to regulate ourselves. Like I said to you earlier, it's okay for a parent not to be regulated. As human beings who are biologically put together with autonomic nervous system, we can also feel overwhelmed. So regulated as a parent does not mean we are not scared or worried. We can also be scared, we can be concerned, but we need to get to a point where we regulate it enough so that we can take our child from the bottom of the ladder and move upwards. We need to shield our children with our quiet confidence. We have to limit how much news we consume ourselves. And with that, I'm including a vast variety of things. At the moment, in my own personal life, I'm getting extra voice notes, messages from people outside the UAE who's not aware of what exactly is going on, asking questions, seeing things on international media. There's a lot of things on social media and Instagram feeds. A lot of my colleagues or my friends are also being stretched to the limit. So you have phone calls. So we have to limit how much news we can consume to be regulated. So if you feel this group is not working for you at the moment, you should feel safe enough to say, for now, I'm leaving this group. And when I'm ready again, I will return. Because unfortunately, everything we consume has an effect on our nervous system. So pause before you speak or act. So at that point, when your child is losing everything because you gave the blue bowl instead of the red bowl, just take a break, pause, and think about how you're going to handle this. Slow your own breathing. There are many breathing techniques available on multiple platforms. I'm not trained as a psychologist, so I'm not going to try and teach you how to do breathing, But if you go into it, there's many different techniques. But try to slow your own breathing and give it time. By just inhaling and exhaling 3 times, you're not necessarily going to get to that perfect point where you want to be. So slow your breathing, take a time, take a pause, lower your voice. I'm one of those people who's not good at it. My friends here at the Third Center often mention that when I get excited, my tone of voice increases and they can hear me all over the center. So I'm saying this as somebody who struggles to do it myself, but make an intentional decision. I am going to lower my voice. Number 2, keep explanations simple. We regulate first and explain later because language shuts down when children are overwhelmed. When they're at the bottom of the ladder, they have fallen down, they're in despair, they cannot process the language that you're trying to give them to calm them down. So once again, go back to waiting, sitting with them, being in the moment. Be mindful of what children know or overheard because they hear us and they see news and they overhear things from friends and images are shared. So if you have an older child, ask them, what do you know? What do you want to know? What are you worried about? So to be mindful of what they are aware of. And when you are mindful and know what they are aware of, you can be honest and give facts because you know what they want to know. I also want to reiterate that if you do this, answer what is asked of you. As adults, we tend to go into a pattern of giving a lot of information, which is sometimes needed in our work position or when we make informed decisions. In this challenging situation, children do not have to know. There were so many drone missiles intercepted last night. If they're asking about drones, of course, we can give them information, but don't bombard your child with a lot of information that is going to make them even more aware of difficult circumstances. So what are things you can say? This, of course, differs from your child personality and your own characteristic and your own ethnicity. But things that you can say is, I am here. We are together in this. You are safe with me. Ask, do you need a hug? Sometimes you just need that physical touch to feel grounded again. Ask your child to breathe with you. Let's breathe together through this. Show me what you need. Like I said earlier, sometimes the language is not available because this child is so overwhelmed. So ask them, show mommy, show daddy what it is that I can do. What do you need? And then have a plan and say to your child, we have a plan and I will tell you. And within that plan, be very specific. Who is going to take charge if something goes wrong? What are we doing? We're getting our bag. Where are we going? We will go to a safe place identified by our government. So make sure that your child is aware of what the plan is. Things to avoid is unnecessary details, as I've already said, politics. Try to not speak about your own fear and anxiety. And I know that's really hard. But as I said before, when you're trying to pull a child up by sitting down with him at the bottom of the ladder, neither of you are going to get up. And lies. Do not lie to your child. Children will find out that you lie to them. And that comes to my next point of reassurance and validation. Honesty builds trust. If my mother is honest with me, if my father is sharing information with me, I can trust them. But if it comes from a different source and suddenly I realize this was not accurate, it puts everything that you say to your child in jeopardy. It damages the relationship and you cannot co-regulate without that trust. You need that to co-regulate. The right information is grounding. It's grounding for all of us. The lovely government proposal set out yesterday with all the facts set all of us at ease, knowing that this is what we prepare for, this is what we're doing, this is where we're going. Often less is more. More information does not equal more safety. So do not overshare unnecessary details, even when you set out the plan, what we are going to do as a family when things go wrong. Be very basic and give the 3 steps, and that's it. Unfortunately, imagination fills in gaps, which is for children scarier than reality. because if they don't know, they cannot actually uh, expect what to happen, and that makes it very hard for them, and they will think out what will happen. To be fair, I'm one of those people who also does that. So as adults, we can also have that inability to just think about what's real and what is actually in my imagination. Did I hear something? Was that a vibration? So make sure you know the facts for yourself and for your child's sake. Give your child time to process what you've said, and if necessary, repeat. You are going to repeating some of the information if they ask for it. Obviously, we don't want to repeat unnecessarily, but if they ask again and you can see this process is not happening, you need to ask, does mommy need to repeat this? We know our children as therapists and as parents, and we can judge quickly whether this that I just said made sense to the child, or do I need to rephrase it? Highlight at all times our leaders doing their job and the protective systems in place. And update your child as new events unfold. We kind of tend to give information and then we get new information, but we don't necessarily share that with the child. And now new things are developing. The child is hearing it from another place, and suddenly that honesty is in jeopardy again. My fourth step is to maintain routines. Predictability reduces anxiety. So unfortunately, at the moment, they cannot go to school, so that's already something hard for them. But stick to the regular meals and sleep within your cultural preferences. Obviously, with Ramadan going on, some families are changing their eating habits, and that's okay. But stick to the regular things that will keep your child intact. Continue online schooling if at all possible, and do activities that are deemed safe. Stick to family routines. So if you have a routine of gathering as a family at night, eating dinner, make sure you do that. If you have a habit of sitting together as a family before the child goes to bed, do that. Make sure you spend more time in that moment with your child. And if you do not have a routine in place like that, where your family is having a shared time together, now is the time to create a platform, because we need to make sure our children has an opportunity to share their experiences. And so often I'm told that my teenager is not talking to me. Yes, where did you talk to your teenager when they were a toddler? What platform did you put in place at that stage to guide them to know that, oh, when we are all together at this time, this is the time for me to ask questions, to ask things, ask clarifications. So if you do not have a routine like that, please put it in place for both your sake and your child's sake to make sure there's a platform for communication. So those were the 4 very practical tips that I hope you could take something home away to do. At the moment, Hope ANC is still here for our families. Our services, like always, include physiotherapy, occupational therapy, speech and feeding therapy, which is my favorite. And we have a clinical psychologist, a medical specialist, and ABA therapist. And all of us are really working hard to help you and take your hands to get your children through this by providing services, by being there, by having an open door policy of please come when you need anything. So in conclusion, before we open the platform for questions, I'd really like to reiterate these words from His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed. The foundation of our nation's strength lies in a united community where individuals are connected and care is extended to each other. So I really want to make sure that everybody know that we are here to support one another to get through this. I think everybody in the UAE has a very different perspective than the people outside who does not exactly know what's going on. But I really think we can take these words and make it part of our everyday life and make sure we are grounded, we are regulated, we are standing together and caring for ourselves as much as we are caring for our children. I would like now to give you the opportunity to ask any questions or raise your hands and share anything you might know. Maybe Miss Judy, you can come on camera. Mr. Mustafa, you can also switch on your camera. Okay. Seems they're not coming up or not on my
Yes.
side. Hey, Miss Judy, welcome.
No, I don't seem to have the ability to open my own camera. If maybe Karen can do that. I'm not, or Christina,
Okay, but
Angelica.
lovely to hear your voice, and it's lovely to have you here.
Yeah, I check the same. I'm trying to check the same.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mustafa. Welcome.
Thank
Thank you for joining me in this presentation for our parents. At this moment, I'm not seeing anything in the questions or there's any comments. I don't know if there's anybody out there who would like to make a comment or just give an indication if this has been helpful and what else we can do to support you as families.
Miss Almin, while we wait for more questions, maybe I can add a comment. I think the whole thing of the autonomic nervous system to understand is it lies on an unconscious level. So purely speaking to your child is not enough. You have to engage the body, like you said, the hugs, the breathing, um, and reconfirming everything they're asking, all of those things. Also, it's not about, we think always we give them the verbal information and that will be enough. The latest neuroscience is now clearly stating that it's not enough. You have to involve the body itself, and that this sense of feeling unsafe is an unconscious thing. So, and I think what you mentioned, like the routine as well, it's the predictability on the outside that also gives the sense of safety on the inside. And that middle part of your ladder, what we often then see is that fight and flight response in that area. You may have heard more lately about the fight and flight response. So, yes, thank you for sharing the information.
Thank you.
And Ms. Almin, if you also allow me to comment on like how this might affect the physiotherapy session. So
Yes, please.
bas- basically children are connected to their family. They can feel how overwhelmed they are, how stressed they are. So actually unintentionally they can get the same feeling from their parent, and this is like it will affect directly and indirectly to their performance in the physiotherapy session. They would be more tense or less cooperative or less responsive to the physiotherapy session. And as we know, the cooperation and the motivation is the priority for us for during the physiotherapy session. So, and actually, this is comes from true story. It happens with one of my kids, and I had to speak with his parent regarding this point because it was something hidden for them. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Mr. Mustafa. I think our children are very intuitive little beings. No matter what the age, our children will always be our little children. My daughter is 19 and she's still my little girl. But children are very intuitive to also find out that something is off, something is wrong, even if we're not explaining to them, even if we're keeping their routine the same. They can sense that some things are different and different. And like Miss Judy said, this is not something we can control. It is actually innate. It happens. And once that fight and flight response are activated, it is really hard for a child to regulate themselves, to listen to the language we give them. So that's why coming back to the predictable platform where they can air things is so important, to have a place where they can return to and feel safe enough to when they are regulated, to ask questions and to share information and to give us the opportunity to do this. Because in the end, the communication we have with them when they're on top of the ladder and when we are on top of the ladder is going to be the best ones. When they're at the bottom, we need to do something physical with that body to help them. So some of your children have been to occupational therapy or other therapy, so you would know things like pulling and pushing things and wrestling with our little children, just to give them that physical touch, the deep touch, which they need to ground themselves so much. At this moment, I don't see any questions in the question box. So I do believe that everybody has gotten all their answers that they needed. Ms. Judy and Mr. Mustafa, thank you so much for joining us. Parents, and please reach out if there's anything you need that we can do, if there's any topics you'd like us to discuss further, if you need more practical tips, please drop us an email. And you can also follow our Instagram, Hope AMC, for updates. At the moment, we are operating in normal hours, 7 days a week, so we are available to provide services to your children. Thank you so much for trusting us with this time and giving up valuable 45 minutes of a time where we are under stress for us to share our thoughts with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.